Hello, welcome to SPEEDIER SME Training, Module 1, Climate and Energy Management Basics. This module will help you understand the reason for targeting small and medium enterprises for energy efficiency and show you some tips and tricks on energy management. Climate change around the globe. The climate is already changing. Moving from top left to right, you can see an ice sheet the size of Manhattan breaking off Antarctica. You can also see glacier melt in Greenland and a landslide in India due to glacial melt. The planet is heating up and causing our glaciers to retreat or melt altogether, leading to rising sea levels and destruction of vast coastal communities and river communities. Bottom left to right, you can see the extreme winter conditions experienced in Texas this year. Also, you can see fires in California and fires in Australia. These events were seen as once-in-a-generation experiences. As our climate changes more and more, these events will become more frequent and more violent. The effects of climate change can be felt throughout the world. In Europe, flooding and drought are the main concerns, with persistent rainfall during winters causing flooding. Drought is another climatic change Europe will have to deal with. But like in, for example, the top middle picture, the 2003 drought in Europe, where temperatures reached over 40 degrees for the whole summer. 50,000 to 70,000 people died as a result of crop failure, heat exposure and drought. These 100-year events are happening now almost every decade now due to climate change. The bottom pictures you can see the deep freeze seen across Europe, in Greece, Paris, Spain. And it also brings to mind some Irish examples like Storm Darcy, Gloria, Philomena, the Beast from the East. Extreme snowstorms and extreme storms becoming more normal as we progress. So how do we stop this? Where is the change coming from? Well, studies indicate that since 1800, with the Industrial Revolution and the steady increase of carbon emissions into the atmosphere, has had a major effect on our climate. Looking at the EU through the lens of carbon intensity per person, or metric tons per capita in 2018, it appears some member states have more work to do than others. There are many factors that cause a high carbon intensity per capita, from amount of renewable energy, grid production that is, to the diet of citizens within these countries. For this project, SPEEDIER, we aim to look at SMEs in the bigger picture, what issues may arise for them, and why they are so important to the EU. The first impact climate change will have on SMEs is heating and cooling costs. Annual heating is likely to decrease due to the warmer springs and warmer autumns. This, along with warmer summers, will increase the need for cooling in most SMEs. Note there that although annual heating will decrease, winter heating will drastically increase. This is due to the harsher storms and weather conditions that will come along with climate change. Droughts are another factor that will affect SMEs through water shortages and soil degradation. So how do we stop this from happening? The EU 2030 targets of 55% carbon reduction of 1919 levels brought attention to climate change and carbon. In the case of Ireland, a climate action plan was released, which called for 200 different actions. Enterprises are stated to play a pivotal role in the 2030 targets. The manufacturing sector was pointed out as the highest emitter amongst these. There were approximately 250,000 enterprises in 2016, with SMEs accounting for 99.8% of it. The same can be said for the EU, with 99.8% of 24.5 million enterprises being in the category of SME. And with 142 million people working in SMEs, it's clear to see that this is a part of the sector that we are aiming to look to reduce energy consumption. So a large portion of the EU population and a large portion of emissions come from SMEs. So how do SMEs fare when it comes to energy efficiency? Well, from Speedier surveys, only 11% of 84 SMEs surveyed in 4 different countries had an energy audit in the last 5 years, with only 63% of the 11% implementing at least one energy conservation measure. This shows the huge potential that SMEs have in reducing emissions in the EU. So, what are the issues? Well, issues shown here are lack of finance, lack of time, seeing energy efficiency as a low priority, or lack of control on buildings. But how do we combat these issues? Here's just a summary of all the points made in the climate section. Well, first, we must understand what we are saving, and that's energy, whether it be gas, oil, or electricity. The unit for these are seen here is known as a kilowatt hour. This is the measurement of energy and can be seen on all your electrical bills and all your gas bills, and can be calculated from your oil deliveries. Shown on the screen is the grams of carbon dioxide per kilowatt hour. As you can see, peat briquettes is the highest, electricity, kerosene, LPG, natural gas. As we move forward, the grams of carbon per kilowatt hour of electricity is slowly reducing due to our wind energy. And it is targeted that by 2030, 70% of the Irish electricity will come from a renewable source, which will again decrease the grams of carbon dioxide per unit. Secondly, we need to start talking about energy management. There is one energy management standard, the ISO 50001. This standard sets out that a company needs to develop a policy for efficient use of energy, fix targets and objectives to meet this policy, and use data, which in most cases requires metering of some sort, to make decisions, to introduce measures and have a system in place to monitor results of measures. This process, however, only is recommended for large enterprises as it takes up a lot of resources and time to implement and certify the standard. However, the process can still be used without the certification to save energy, money, and carbon for homeowners as well as businesses. First, we start with an energy baseline. This is a set normal working year that we can compare future years to. You can't say what you can't measure, is what we always say. The graph shows the process of an energy baseline, then an energy conservation measure, or ECM, being introduced, then a reporting period where the savings from the ECM are calculated from. Energy baselines do not have to be line graphs. They can be whatever you want and whatever you find comfortable. As stated, this can be adopted by homeowners and businesses alike, so tailor your energy baseline to what you feel is right, whether it be a year, a month, a week, a day. Secondly, we must understand energy performance on your site. We can see these every day in the case of BERs, or building energy ratings, for residential houses in Ireland. The energy consumption of your site is not enough to start understanding your site's energy profile. A performance indicator is needed. This can be anything from the area of your building to the number of people in your building, and simply dividing the energy consumption by your performance indicator. And just to note, the definition of an ECM is there bottom, and will be covered again in Module 5. As stated in this slide, an effective energy performance indicator needs to be well defined and quantifiable. If it can't be measured again and again and again, then well, it isn't a very good performance indicator. And it is crucial to achieving your goal Next, we're going to talk about energy base or balance and energy flows. These are the inputs into your building and outputs from it. We also look at the main processes and flows that we are most interested in, which are those processes that can be controlled. As stated there, can plant A be controlled, tuned, fine-tuned? It's basically the where we look at everything that goes into the building, whether it be electricity and gas, figure out where they go and what comes out of that, and whether it be for a house, it could be a fridge, could be a light bulb, and the output of that. And just some examples here of energy baselines or balances. The larger diagram shows the sources of energy in Ireland. Notice that nearly all natural gas is imported from the UK, and that the only supplies that are fully Irish are peat, biomass, and renewables. So you can see that the most of our inputs are oil, and most of the output from oil goes to transport. Another important thing when it comes to energy management is metering. To understand your building more, you require more in-depth data to work with. This could be a simple flow meter that measures how much water your shower is using, or an electrical meter that measures how much your electric stove is using. The process shown here outlines the steps required for a good energy management plan, and the second step there is install energy monitoring and metering equipment. These are just some of the meters that you can pick up at your local hardware store to get you on your way to better energy management. You won't understand how interesting sub-metering is until you try it out. For example, do you know how much your kitchen uses in electricity versus how much hot water you use in a week? Or how about finding the culprit of the latest high energy bill, whether it be electricity or gas? These meters can be installed by registered electricians, registered gas installers, and regular plumbers as well. This is just a more in-depth knowledge for those who are interested in sub-metering. The main important reason there is data logging. This can be done either manually by a representative of an organization or of a household, walking to each meter and measuring and noting the meters. Or data logging equipment can be used with cloud or local access storage. Energia, I think, provide such a thing, and also SEAI provides such a thing too for homeowners. As said there, the more you know, the less risk of energy project failure. And once your metering is good enough, you can start to put together a breakdown of your energy on your site. This is very important, as these are some examples here of energy breakdowns. With a hierarchy of energy users, you can identify which to target for energy conservation measures, like space heating in the right example, or the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, or HVAC in the top left, or the lighting in the bottom left. This will ensure you get the most savings from your ECM or your energy conservation measure, and also get you on the right track for saving the most energy on site. I hope this module was helpful and insightful. For more training videos, please see Module 2, where we will dive into the ring fencing mechanism for funding for ECMs, behavioral change, and the SPEEDIER app. And also Module 3, where we will look at transport of people, goods, and also electric cars.